Guys, it's Jacob from Stringbuzz here, stringbuzzworld.org being the music journalism site, links it in the description down below. And this is a video telling you why 2016 was a good year for music. I'm going to refer to the original article as I usually do for these videos, so I hope you enjoy. So this segment is really in response to a lot of music writers who have perhaps disliked the quality of music from last year, and for the most part in a pop sense, I can totally agree with them. I don't think we've had a worse year for pop music in at least a decade, and pop music was an absolute slog to get through as a music reviewer. The tropical/house vibes that were used in every single track just made me as a reviewer feel like I'm listening to the same song over and over again. Sure, there are other genres that took a hit like pop punk and maybe stoner rock as well, but the rest of the year has had some pretty good showings, and here's basically why. Starting with number 1, we have experimental music. Now, the term experimental is used far too commonly in the modern music world, as well as the music industry in general. It depends on what you define as experimental. For me, it's something that's atypical from an artist's usual approach and different to what the market is loving right now. So it's pretty simple, you're basically going against the trend in music. Last year we had buckets and buckets full of great experimental music from the unlikeliest of artists. I'm talking people like Solange, Bridget Mendler, Plini, Tokyo Hotel, the Paper Kites, and many, many more varied up their sound to create some really satisfying tracks. I mean, if I had said the names Solange and Bridget Mendler in 2015, you would have all rolled your eyes, and I wouldn't blame you for it. I would have done the same. But now we have artists like this who are taking creative leaps in their career. The best part for me is how the experimental music is actually being recognised in the charts, in the Billboard, everywhere now. You'd have to track back to the tail end of the 70s to find more exposure to experimental music than what we currently have. Music audiences, for the most part, are diversifying their tastes, and I think that is a welcomed change. So for my next point, we might as well talk about a bit of metal music. And metal music has had a real barnstorm in the last 2-3 years or so, especially last year. I mean, although metal has edged its way off of my favourite genre stockpile, and perhaps I'm not the kid anymore who used to really enjoy it and put it out there in front of everything else, I've got to say the sheer quality of music being released last year in said genre was amazing, mesmerising in fact. The fan bases for the acts have become less volatile and snobby, and it's led to a big push in sales throughout the category. People are uniting together behind the genre rather than specific acts. For me personally, I have to highlight bands like Gojira and Metallica. We all knew Gojira would make anthemic music that sounded like whales colliding, but Magma was an absolute audio spectacle, and they have deservedly been nominated for the Grammys, which I hope they will do well in. They deserve the Grammy for that, because I think that was the sort of changing point in the year which really led metal music to becoming the standout showing from any category of music. And then when it comes to Metallica, well, Metallica on the other hand have been the whipping boys for criticism in the genre for over a decade now. But last year they released a really solid effort, one that showed maturity, a form complexity, and a whole new side to the group altogether. So the strong efforts have really paid off in the genre, and it's really nice to see. So now we're here with point number 3, and that's prog music. Now, prog music had an incredible year last year, and perhaps the best in a long time. We had prog metal, we had prog rock, we had prog ambient, we had alternative prog. We had a huge diverse culture finally set back into the prog world, where instrumentalists were less fussed about sounding heavy like their metal compatriots, and instead wanted to push themselves musically like the genre is meant to signify. Before, I felt prog was perhaps getting too self-indulgent, finding ways to be technically incredible, but this year the product has come first, and we've had some fantastically catchy tracks from the likes of Polyphia, Hubris, Plini, and Dan James Griffin. I can't wait to see how the genre evolves next year, because the speed it's going at, I can see prog perhaps being the new rock and roll in popularity, because I'd say it's bigger than rock music at the moment. I'd say it's bigger than hard rock music at the moment, and it's neck and neck with metal in what is the new rock. So now we're on to point number 4, and point number 4 is production. Now again, I just want you to steer clear from pop and pop punk and dancehall when it comes to this aspect, because I think the production was actually worse this year for those categorised artists. But when it comes to EDM, ambient, prog, and many other genres, we had a stonking year for production values. The drum quality has risen well over 100% since we started this concentration on kick drum over snare drum. Suddenly we have a modern, balanced and rooted kit that complements the rest of the group rather than sounding tasty in itself. Also, the guitar tones we were given in low budget productions last year has astounded me with their richness and depth, and that's from low budget productions. I'm talking people like Dorje here, who have just proven to anyone, as long as you know your stuff about tones and getting the best out of your instruments, then it's not going to matter where you go for when you get in that studio recording recording. So I'm looking forward to see what comes next year with production, but I can imagine everything's going to be pretty great. If they continue down this route, I can only see better and better things coming from it. Coming in at number 5, and this is a popular choice basically. I've had this feature 3 times on our list here, and that's independent music. Now, independent music has been harder and harder to market in the industry, and now these musicians are perhaps earning less and less. But the quality and borderless complexity of independent music last year just blew my mind as a reviewer. I much preferred listening to independent acts than I did to signed music. By the end of it, in fact, I was actively looking for more independent music to listen to and review than the signed stuff. We had acts like You Salute, We Were Glue, Funeral for Bird, all hitting our top songs list, despite being made in basements and in shacks around the world, not in professional studios. Instead of acts phoning it in for a contract, we now have artists throwing every single ounce of musical ability they have into every project, and just to get some credit from those around them. And this has led to perhaps the best year in independent music history. Off the top of my head, I can think of people like Emnibus, like I've already said, those 3 acts I mentioned earlier. Hindu was also a great act. The Brinks, bringing back some sort of classic rock sort of vibes. Mango Retreat, who also featured on that top songs list. I even forgot about them. It was just an incredible year. And Alternate Function as well. I mean, Fish Tank broke up, but they released some great songs this year. And I just think, wow, independent music, if these guys could get a contract, I can see the next 10 years going really well in the music world. Coming in at number 6, and the final point to be put on this list, we have critique culture is on the rise. Now, do I want everyone to be a critic? No, I know that sounds a little bit hypocritical as a music journalist, but I think music is meant to be enjoyed and celebrated first. But the critique culture has hit the near-perfect balance this year, with fans rejecting poor music and recognising the smaller acts just because they've done better. When it comes to the new Bon Iver album, when that came out, a lot of their fans said it just wasn't good enough and it was very poorly put together. When Mo released her track Drum, her fans went nuts for her following the stereotypical dancehall / tropical vibes of modern pop music instead of sticking to herself. When Meghan Trainor released her new albums, fans straight up panned it despite adoring her previous year, literally because of how fed up they were with poor subject matters and not changing and not evolving. It's great to see fans choosing quality over quantity and being self-aware when their artist has let them down. This will lead to a huge quality surge where artists will genuinely have to better themselves to get listeners in. That can only be a good thing. And even when I was looking over the last few You Me at 6 songs, and they've had 2 which are really good and 2 which are really bad, and I've noticed that people have said on it all that they'd like a bit better, they'd like to go down, and I think groups will listen to that, and I think this is a good thing that critique culture is on the rise, as long as it doesn't get out of hand. So all in all, the year has taken a battering from outside influences that has led to a lot of people poo-pooing the year in music. But I think when you look at it outside of the charts and outside of what the mainstream has offered us, you can see a massive improvement in so many areas, and that really excites me. So if you like this video, then please leave a like, subscribe to see more, and I'll see you around next time. Bye bye.